It's not long before we come under fire. Then this, a human body burning in the middle of the street.
It seems the gangs were around here, so one of them was cornered and killed, and now the body was set on fire. Yeah.
This is Jimmy Chirizier, also known as Berbecue in the street. He's one of the most popular gang leaders in Haiti. He is also the most powerful and most wanted gang leader in Haiti. In recent days, Haiti has fallen under gang rules and violence has gone up. There are more than 200 gangs in Haiti, which are responsible for killing over 10,000 people and forcibly displacing over 700,000 in the past 3 years. This has led to an international proposal to try and bring order and stability in the country. The proposal was approved by the UN Security Council in October 2023 to support the Haitian National Police in fighting the gangs. This mission will be led by Kenya and support from other countries like Brazil. So, what led to this crisis and how did Haiti become the poorest country in America? Haiti's problems can be traced back to colonial times. Before being colonized, the island of Hispaniola, which included modern-day Haiti and the Dominican Republic, was home to thriving indigenous communities. The first European to arrive there was Christopher Columbus on November 6, 1492, who then proceeded to claim it for Spain. The population of Haiti is estimated to be around 500,000 at the time. They were eventually replaced by Europeans who brought in African slaves to work on their farms. Back then, Haiti and Dominican Republic were not separated, and two European nations wanted it for themselves. France and Spain fought for control of this island and eventually agreed to split it into two: the Dominican Republic, which was controlled by Spain, and Haiti, which was controlled by France. France exploited Haiti by bringing in thousands of slaves who were forced to work on sugarcane farms, and the sugar was then exported to Europe and other parts of the world. At the end of the 18th century, the slaves were fed up and they went ahead to start a revolution, which later led them to independence. This was a significant step towards the end of slavery. In 1804, Haiti became the first black nation in the world and the first independent state in the Caribbean. This wasn't received well by other colonial states who still had many slaves in other parts of the world, so they isolated Haiti. France then went ahead to demand Haiti to pay for its independence by paying 150 million francs, which is roughly $21 billion in today's money. Over the next 100 years, Haiti went ahead to pay over $20 billion. This debt was devastating for Haiti. The country was already struggling to rebuild after the revolution. To make these payments, Haiti had to take out loans with very high interest, so their debt kept on increasing.
First, isolation. Nobody wanted to do business with a new nation. The new Black Republic was cut off economically, surrounded by the colonies of powerful nations using slave labor who feared their slaves could also revolt. Haiti was the first Black Republic, reason enough for some of its powerful neighbors to refuse to even trade with a new nation, because, you know, racism.
To make things worse, some of these loans were taken from banks in France and other European countries. This burden crippled its economy and drove them into poverty. The leaders of Haiti back then were also very corrupt, and this led to increase in poverty and violence. On top of all this, Haiti faced devastating natural disasters, notably the 2010 earthquake, which killed over 220,000 people, injured over 300,000, and displaced more than 1.3 million people. Haiti continued to experience political instability and widespread protests and unrest. Then, in the early morning of 7th July 2021, Jovenel Moise, who was president at the time, was assassinated by a group of 28 foreign mercenaries, mostly from Colombia. They are alleged to be responsible for the president's death.
Fears of more turmoil after Haiti's president is assassinated. The country was already struggling with political infighting, violence, and natural disasters. So, what could happen next? And will the UN need to intervene again?
Claude Joseph assumed the role of acting president in the aftermath of Moises' assassination. Joseph later resigned as acting president on July 19, 2021 to support his replacement, Ariel Henry. During this time, gangs took advantage of this political failure and violence increased. They mostly made money through kidnappings and smuggling of weapons and drugs. Little by little, Haiti fell under the control of gangs who would later capture most of the capital, Port-au-Prince. By 2022, researchers estimated that 200 gangs operated across Haiti. Of these, half were located in Port-au-Prince. In the midst of these gangs is the G9 Alliance, a gang that is led by a former police officer who goes by the name Berbecue. His real name is Jimmy Chirizier. Meet Berbecue, an outspoken former police officer who went rogue and became the leader of one of the largest gangs in Haiti. He likes to patrol the streets that he controls and frequently conducts interviews with media personnel. He has managed to unite 9 gangs under the G9 Alliance, which he leads, and is said to be working on uniting more gangs to resist foreign invaders. He claims to be a revolutionary leader who is against current politicians and foreign police officers, including the Kenyan-led police force. He believes the Kenya-led mission will only lead to more violence. He has been doing a couple of interviews with different media houses like Al Jazeera. He has been trying to rebrand himself as a good leader whose only interest is providing a better Haiti for his people. He denies being involved with criminal gangs and even condemns some activities conducted by other gangs like kidnappings. The gangs of Haiti have inflicted unimaginable suffering to the population, turning neighborhoods into war zones where fear is used to control people. They have carried out mass kidnappings, targeting everyone from school children to American missionaries, demanding ransoms that bankrupt families. Extortion is rampant, with the gangs imposing taxes on businesses, markets, and even humanitarian aid deliveries, which leaves those in need without essential resources. Rival gangs engage in brutal wars, which at times kill civilians caught in the crossfire. Women and girls have become frequent victims of sexual violence, which are used as tools of intimidation and control. Entire communities have been forcibly displaced and their homes burned to the ground. Even institutions like schools and hospitals are not spared. They are often looted or occupied, leaving the nation's most fragile systems in ruins. The gangs' relentless violence has plunged Haiti into chaos, leaving its people desperate for safety and justice. In 2022, the then Prime Minister Ariel Henry asked the UN to come up with an international security mission to help Haiti crack down on gangs and enforce law and order. Kenya offered to lead the mission by providing over 1,000 police officers who would be joined by a few others from countries like Brazil and the Bahamas. Kenya committed by first sending 400 officers in 2024. Then in January 2025, they sent 217 more, bringing the total to around 600. These policemen face a lot of challenges.
Immediately I get whatever I'm talking about in terms of equipment, in terms of personnel, in terms of funding. It's just a matter of time, because we are aware that the mission mandate has been extended for 1 year. And after 1 year, the expectation from the international community, Haiti has to go for elections.
They first focused on getting the main port back in Port-au-Prince, and they succeeded.
It's working. You talk about the hotels. The hotels in Port-au-Prince are now fully booked. The business that were closed are now opening up. Schools that were closed are now being reopened.
But the struggle is far from over because the gangs control around 80% of the capital. They are well armed and they know the terrain better. They have vowed to resist occupation from what they call foreign invaders and continue to cause terror for both police and the civilians. The Haitian police don't seem to be too confident too with the Kenyan police. They claim they are too careful and avoid combat by retreating every time they face confrontation.
We managed to talk anonymously with officers from the Haitian police. Every day they're out either alone or together with the Kenyans. But they're not too happy about them.
Since they have arrived, they usually don't really want to enter the risk zones, the hot zones. They often tend to retreat. They often tend to return to their base.
They say Kenyan forces are too afraid to face the gangs head-on, and most of the time is spent inside their safe armored vehicles. Lately, the gangs have been using Molotovs, which has been efficient in discouraging the police from visiting certain areas.
Is it moving? Toka bana. Reverse. Oh yeah, toka man.
Something hits the hatch above us. The smell of petrol engulfs us.
As you can see,
It's raining already.
petrol is still dripping inside this vehicle.
Some citizens don't also seem to think that the Kenyan forces will be able to impact change. These challenges continue to grow even back in Kenya by facing opposition and criticism from Kenyan citizens and politicians. The current administration in Kenya is not very popular and has been accused of corruption and abductions that followed the anti-government protests last year. This operation faces many challenges and has seen Kenyan politicians ask Donald Trump to end the mission.
DAP Kenya leader Eugene Wamalwa wants US President-elect Donald Trump to revisit the Kenya-Haiti mission and allow Kenya police officers deployed in the country to return home and help combat the alarming rise in criminal activities.
The US is currently the main sponsor of this mission and had promised millions of dollars to support it. This was under the previous administration. When Trump came in, he introduced budget cuts that led to the termination of US aid in many countries. Trump's administration then paused the funds that were supposed to fund this peacekeeping mission in Haiti. The funds have been paused for at least 3 months, but the Kenyan government is still insisting that this won't affect the mission. In late February 2025, a Kenyan police officer, Samuel Kaitwai, was tragically killed in Haiti during a mission to combat violent gangs. Samuel was fatally shot in the Antibonite region, making him the first Kenyan police officer to lose life during the mission.
Elsewhere, a family in Naserian village, Kajiado County, has been thrust into mourning following the tragic death of their kin in the line of duty in Haiti. Samuel Kaetwai, a police officer, was among the 600 Kenyan police officers working as part of the Kenya-led multinational security support mission in Haiti.
His body was returned to Kenya on March for burial. Haiti has faced a lot of challenges since it was first discovered. This video only covers a very small percentage, and I feel like it will take hours to explain what this country has been through. This mission lacks backing, and I feel like it will be more of a success if more countries contributed both finances and manpower. This mission is supposed to be led by the UN and not a single country. And most people are probably wondering why this mission is not being led by the UN. The UN tried to lead a peacekeeping mission and it ended badly and they had to leave Haiti. More countries are continuing to show support, and let's hope that the Haitians will eventually have a peaceful nation with strong institutions, effective governance, and a renewed sense of hope. With sustained support and a collective commitment to rebuilding, there is hope that Haiti can rise from this turmoil and create a peaceful future for all of its citizens.